Hey, English 205 students, Professor Norman here with a check-in for week 12. As always, I hope everybody is doing okay and just trying to just hold on as we're in the basically the last month of the semester. I have just a couple of reminders for you as they relate to our coursework for the week. And the main thing I wanted to talk about is the team project, of course. And I haven't gotten a lot of questions or concerns or anything like that, but I just wanted to kind of cover a couple of basic reminders. So, as far as the planning report goes, that is a team based submission, meaning just one person from your group has to submit it when you guys get it all done. And what I've done, just as a little reminder, is of course I've provided you the kind of the full assignment sheet that kind of explains what you're supposed to include in each section, a template that's included at the end as kind of an appendix to my memo of directions. And then also one thing I did not mention the other day in class, but if you go to the submission link and you click the little button that says rubric on that, you can actually see the rubric that I'll be using to grade the assignment, which is something that's always good to check before you submit, because I just try and make it it's a very simple rubric. It just kind of lists all the different things for each kind of category that I use to evaluate it. And the report is 50 points total, and that's kind of split up between the different sections that are required. So pretty straightforward. If you have all the sections, you'll get at least points for those things. If for some reason you forget a section or do not include one for some reason, you'll miss out on that entire 5 or 10 points depending on what section it is. I just went in earlier today and did a little editing to some of the wording in there just to make it as kind of clear and relevant to what we've talked about as before. And also some of the points were a little bit out of whack. As I mentioned to you guys, that problem purpose section, that's really important to develop that one, kind of more so than any of the other sections. So I just kind of redistributed the points to make sure that is worth a little bit more, which makes sense based off of our emphasis this semester. So check that out if you haven't, and let me know if you have any questions. The only question that I've really gotten, only kind of concerns or things like that, have to do with teamwork, and especially what do we do if someone is not participating, right? And that's very common to get that at this point in the semester, as things are starting to kind of form a little bit more and you actually have to do things as it relates to the project. Some people just kind of drop off the face of the earth, and with it being a virtual class, it's even easier for that to happen than it would be in some previous semesters. I totally understand that. So what do you do? Well, to some degree, it kind of comes at an inopportune time, because frankly, the planning report is where you're kind of identifying your strategies for how to address that. So how do you address that if you haven't even got the strategies for them yet? There's not one answer per se. The best thing I can tell you to do is that, if it becomes very obvious that someone is just not engaged for whatever reason, then it is good to go ahead and make that shift to moving on without them. And that's something that you have to do sometimes in real life environments as well. You have to let the supervisor, in this case me, know that, hey, we've reached out to them like 3 or 4 or 5 times, and nothing's happening. We're not getting any response. And is it okay for us to proceed without? And a lot of times at this point my answer is going to be yes, it is okay to do that, because we're to a point in the semester where if everything's clicking really well with the 3 members of your team that are participating, then that is a lot more effective than trying to drag along that 4th or 5th member so that they're participating but not really participating. And it's better just to cut bait rather than drag it out. And then somebody's like, well, I mean, I've only got like a week or 2 left to go. Can I, and it just becomes a big mess. So at a certain point, and as I'm recording this on Thursday, the week that the planning report is due, I think we've probably about reached that point where if you just haven't heard from someone at all this week, or maybe they've gotten involved a little bit last week or the week before that, but you haven't heard from them for a while, it's probably time to reconsider some of the responsibilities, and it might be time to move along without that particular person. But again, you can reach out to me and you can explain the full situation to me, and that's good. Obviously, I'm a little bit behind with reviewing some of your journals and things like that, where you might have communicated some of that stuff. So if you need to, shoot me an email and just kind of let me know, even if you already mentioned it in a journal or something like that. I would really appreciate that, because obviously I can kind of respond back to that a little bit more immediately. And I do apologize for falling behind on some of that grading. I had the best of intentions of doing it last weekend, and when you know it, that's when I got sick. I thought I was going to be able to avoid getting sick this spring, but I guess not. The only other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys about was something that I shared with you in class about the interview project, and I want to give a shout out to Torrance, who's the first guy who checked it all off, got the email that the big interview questions were complete, and then saw that he's done the reflection. Yay, good job on that. Proves to me that it is in operation and working correctly, which is really, really helpful to me as somebody who doesn't know much about that program except, you know, the little bit that I've looked at it from the outside. So it seems like it's working okay and everything's working well. And I encourage you guys that when you get a spare moment, just go ahead and check that one off. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be something that you know spend hours and hours and hours. You know, take a little time, prep, practice, record, re-record. You know, get your thoughts in order, and then you know go for it, and then you can check that one off and be done with it. And that's a 50-point project as well. So for anybody that's kind of like, man, I want to get some good grades to kind of push things up, or maintain good grades or whatever. That's one that you can do, and not have to worry about it lingering on, because when I get it, I'll go ahead and grade that one as soon as I catch up with some of the other grading. But I won't wait until the end of the semester to do that. I'll just go ahead and grade it so that you can kind of know where you're at. But again, I've got to catch up on that a little bit, hoping that this weekend goes a little bit better than the last weekend. So that's all I've got for you guys this week. I hope, again, everybody's doing okay, staying as safe as possible, as healthy as possible, and as positive as possible. Reach out to me with any questions. Come by during the office hours, virtually, or if you would like to set up a time to meet in person, if that would be helpful, if you're on campus or able to come to campus, I'm glad to do that as well. I've got my mask, and I have enough space in the office that we can stay at least the 3 feet away. I think we can get to about 6 feet away. But anyway, if that's something that would be beneficial for you, I'm glad to try and accommodate that as well, or of course on Zoom or by phone. So take care, have a good rest of the week, and I'll talk to you guys next week.